Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Caregiver and Spoonie podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Banderas. And just a quick reminder, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes of the podcast. And also, thank you for all the support, the emails, the messages that I've been receiving. Thank you for that. And thank you for being a supporter of this, the Caregiver and Spoonie podcast. So let's get into today's episode. Now, on today's episode, I wanted to talk about how you are not your past. And I want to start this episode by reading a little bit of the book The Secret. This is one of the books that I've been reading about, and actually I feel like it has helped me a lot. And there's a section that pretty much says you are not your past, and that's why I want to read it. And this is said by Dr. Jack Canfield. If you don't know him, and I'm sorry to say doctor, but he's not a doctor actually. He's the co-writer of Chicken Soup for the Soul. Sorry, I messed that up, huh? All right, well, let me go ahead and read this here to you. All right, so it says, a lot of people feel they're victims in life, and they'll often point to past events. Perhaps growing up with an abusive parent or in a dysfunctional family. That's me. Most psychologists believe that 85% of families are dysfunctional, so all of a sudden you're not so unique. My parents were alcoholics. My dad abused me. My mother divorced him when I was 6. I mean, that's almost everybody's story in some form or not. The real question is, what are you going to do now? What do you choose now? Because you can either keep focusing on that, and that's one of the things that I always talk about, or you can focus on what you want. When people start focusing on what they don't want falls away, and what they want expands, and the other part disappears. Now, I'm also going to read this quote from Prentice Mulford. It says, a person who sets his or her mind on the dark side of life, who lives over and over the misfortunes and disappointments of the past, prays for similar misfortunes and disappointments in the future. If you will see nothing but ill luck in the future, you are praying for such ill luck and will surely get it. Now, this is a very powerful book for me because some of the things that it says, I have applied to my life, and it has worked perfectly. Especially in this situation, because you are not your past. You are not your past. And the way that I interpret this, from my perception or my interpretation of this particular area of the book, is that sometimes, depending on what you did in the past, it could be bad, obviously. It could be a mistake. It could be something that you did and you regretted at one point. You're gonna start thinking about it, and then you're like, oh, I am this. Like, in my situation, I can only talk about myself and sometimes like the stories that other people share, but in this case, I'm gonna talk about myself. I was a bully. If you have listened to the blog and everything, I have talked about this, and I was a bully. The reason why I was a bully is because my mom abused me, my brother abused me, so I was angry. So I was taking it out on other people. But then I felt bad for doing it, and I realized that this was I was a bully probably from kindergarten until like 3rd grade, I would say. And then I felt bad about it because one of my friends, he was so weak, everybody kept picking on him, and then I felt bad, so I actually turned around and I said, no, I'm not a bully anymore, I'm actually going to help my friend, and I started defending him. So that's pretty much what I did. And I still feel bad about being a bully. I still feel bad about snapping at my wife and things like that. But what happens in those type of situations is that you have to understand that if you know what exactly you did wrong, and you learn something from it so you can actually move on and become a better person from that experience, then that's what matters. That's why you can actually move on from your past. That's why when it says like you are not your past, I kind of relate to it because I was a bully. I'm not a bully anymore. Probably some people that I bully, they will be like, "Oh, Jordan is so mean. Jordan is this." Yeah, but I have changed. My wife can tell you this. Like when we got married, I had anger issues. I was always snapping. We were fighting all the time. But then, thanks to therapy, I was able to change, and I'm a completely different person. So I'm not the same person as I was. I'm not the same person as I was yesterday. Every time you have to try to improve yourself so you can actually move on from your past and actually have a better future and a better present as well. That's pretty much what this book means to me. That's what that part of the book means to me. I don't know what it will mean to you, but what I'm gonna tell you is what I'm going to tell you to do. What I'm going to tell you though is that if you did something in your past, you could beat up your kids, you could have beat up your wife, which is bad. Don't do it. I don't recommend it. You could have snapped at your kids and snap at your family. You could. Another thing is that you could have shoplifted. I did that a long time ago. My family was ashamed. They're like, "Oh, you shoplifted, blah 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 blah. You shouldn't have done it." But it's like, you know what? I did. I live with the consequences, and unfortunately, not unfortunately, but fortunately, nothing happened. There were no charges, no nothing. So it was expunged from my record, so it doesn't even show. So I got lucky. A lot of people don't get that lucky, but just because you shoplifted, that doesn't mean that you're just a thief. We have to understand that people do it for a reason. We don't know the exact reason. It could be because of the way that they were raised. It could be because of the way that they feel. Sometimes we just do it because of feeling. And one of the things that I also want to mention is that there's people out there that were having like the worst life. They were taking it out on everybody. They were stealing, drug dealing, doing all these things. But then they decide to change. And then they became a better person. So that's why this particular part of the book that says you are not your past, I wanted to share with you because nobody should be living in the past. The past is already gone. What matters, and I have said this before, is the present, so you can live a better future. If you stay stuck in your past, no matter what it is, it could have been a mistake. It could have been that you drove drunk and caused an accident, and unfortunately somebody passed away, which it happens a lot of times, unfortunately. If you have done something like that, my advice to you is that you can move on, but you have to learn from that experience. You have to learn that what you did was wrong, yes, and that you're not gonna make that mistake again. If you decide to make no more mistakes like that, then you're gonna be able to understand yourself in a way that says like, okay, I learned a lesson from this. I shouldn't have drank, so I'm not gonna drink anymore and drive. You can still drink, but don't drive. Or if for some reason, let's say you were a bully, you were an abuser, then as long as you understand why you had to do what you had to do, why were you projecting your anger and fears onto somebody else, you're gonna be able to fix that problem. That's pretty much what happened to me. Like, I will project all my anger into people because I didn't know how to deal with it inside of me. Like, my mind was pretty much full of crap because of the way that I was raised. So once I understood that, I was able to move on, but I had to face that. I had to face the fact that I was angry. I was raised by an abusive mom and an abusive household. So I had to realize so many things so I could actually move on and understand that what I was doing was wrong. Now I undo it, and I'm actually more aware of my actions. So that's another thing that I'm going to be talking in another episode, because awareness will help you. There's meditations about awareness. I think the meditations help me also with therapy, because when you're able to become aware of your feelings, or how you're feeling, you're gonna be able to understand why that happens, instead of exploding or projecting to somebody, which is what we do when as kids. Pretty much, we don't understand why we feel a certain way, so we project it. We cry, we punch somebody, we become a bully. We still, because we want something, just because our parents say that we don't deserve it. I'm talking about experience in this, from my experience in this situation. Now, oh, you don't deserve it. I don't deserve it. I'm gonna get it on my own. And I didn't do anything wrong to not deserve it. So it's like, like that's what exactly happened to me. There's so many possibilities that this could happen to you in one way or another. But the thing is that I was able to move on from my past. I was stuck in my past. I was really stuck in my past. You can ask my wife. I was stuck in my past. I was always acting up. I was, like I said, I was yelling at my wife. I was doing all of these things. But once I realized that the past is the past, and that I was able to move on from that past, I was able to become a better husband, better caregiver, better person overall. Like, every day you can improve yourself to become a better person. And that's what we should do, especially in the time of need, with everything that is going on. We should try to become the best version of ourselves. And in order for us to be able to do that, we have to move on from the past. Because and also another thing that, before I forget, if you keep thinking about the past, if you keep thinking about your whatever mistake happened, whatever accident happened, whatever happened to you in the past, don't dwell on it. Because, for one, if you were a victim of something and you keep thinking about it because it happened obviously in the past, one of the things that's going to do, that's going to cause depression, that's going to cause anxiety. You're not going to be able to live the present. So you're not going to be able to move on and have a better life. And you can actually see this on, like, Elizabeth Smart's case. She was kidnapped. Obviously, she was abused, and all of these things happened to her. But I was listening to this video of her and how she talks, how she's so like, I had to move on. I had to let go of my past and understand that I'm my own self, and I can change the way that I feel about the whole situation, because I learned something from that situation. And now I'm able to talk to other people that have gone through the same thing, so we can actually support each other. And that's pretty much what I want with the podcast and the community. It's like, everybody's going through something. All of us, a lot of us, are stuck in the past. We don't really understand why we're stuck in the past, because for some reason either somebody brings it up all the time. That's what my family would do. Like, when I was arrested, they brought it up all the time. Like, when I was a bully, they brought it up all the time. So it's like, you can't really move on. And that's another thing, that it's hard for other people that are not going through this to understand, because your past doesn't define you. Your past is your past. Yes, you did something wrong, you were a victim, but you can change that. You can change that by understanding that all you can do is live the present. You can't live all the time in the past, because, like I mentioned, it's going to cause depression. It can cause anxiety. That's if you're the victim. If you're the abuser, it can cause more rage. Believe me, I know. It can cause more rage. So you're just going to keep projecting your rage if you keep living in the past. And you're going to keep the cycle of abuse. You're going to keep that cycle going. And that's not what we're supposed to do. We shouldn't be doing that, to be honest. So your past doesn't define you. It doesn't matter what happened in the past. It doesn't matter if you hit somebody by accident. You don't feel bad about it. understand how it happened and what you learn from it. That's the best part about that's the best part about life, in my opinion, because you're able to learn new things about why things happen and then how to prevent them in the future. It's almost like with regular history, like history of the world, like when they say, like, if we don't learn from our past, then those mistakes are gonna keep repeating itself. And that's pretty much what happens in this situation. If you keep reliving your past and reliving your past, but if you don't learn anything from it, you're gonna keep repeating the same mistake over and over and over again. You won't be able to live the present and have a good future because you're gonna keep repeating the same mistake over and over again. So that's what I'm saying. Like your past doesn't define you. Just understand that your past doesn't define you. You are not your past. Your past is gone. So try. And I understand that this is hard, and we're gonna be talking about this on the podcast. How to live in the present. How to move on from your past, and how to have a better future. This is all from my experience and all from my perspective about from other people's stories, how I see like in this situation, like from my story I compare it to others when they talk to me, and then I cannot tell them like, okay, this is what worked for me. You can try it that way, or you can try it a completely different way. It doesn't matter how you try it, as long as you learn the lesson from the past. Everything that happened in the past has a lesson in it. It's up to us to understand that, but unfortunately, because we get entangled in the moment or in the feeling, we don't actually pay attention to it. That's what happened to me. I know that it happens to a lot of people, but that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about today. I hope you guys are enjoying the episodes. I hope you guys are enjoying the podcast and all the content that we've been putting on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. And like I said before, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to share, like. And also, if you want to share your story anonymously, you can always send it to me at the Caregiver and Spoonie at gmail.com. And as always, take care of yourself. Have a good day.